But I'm actually going to continue. We've been in a series called Managing Morality, and this is our fourth part. Just so you know, we have one more next week. So if you are thinking about coming next week, if you haven't been and you're watching online in a while, I would recommend next week. I always get excited about the final one. I don't know. I can't promise you that it'll be the best, but I kind of feel like it's going to be a good one. So if we come next week, it'll be fun. So. But we have been talking about at least the last two times that I preached about this series, we kind of dived into what does it look like when Jesus manages morality. And I know that it might seem strange to talk about it, but Jesus really did manage morality. He managed people's morality, but not in the way that we would manage morality. Not how we would have done it, and not in the way that we think of him managing morality. He's always talking, we have said this, but he was always typically talking to two groups of people. The two people that he was usually talking to was the moral and the immoral. He was usually talking to the religious people, and then he would also talk to the non-religious. He was talking to the morally accepted people of the day, and then he would always look out for the rejected people as well. So those are the two different types of people. You can see it over and over and over again in the Gospels. Most of Jesus' ministry, he was talking to those two groups of people. One of my favorite passages where he's doing this, and I think it's displayed really well, it's one of my favorite passages, is in Luke 15. And we're going to go through this whole chapter. That's where we're going to stay the whole time. If you're wondering where we're going, we're going to be in Luke 15. And so if you have your Bibles, if you'll go there with me, we're going to go to Luke 15. We're going to read out of the ESV translation. And it starts off, "Now the tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes grumbled." So picture this, all of the people of the day that were rejected were gathering near to Jesus. And the Pharisees are now grumbling. And it says, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. So if you can kind of picture this scene, if you can think about this scene, the tension is getting worse. Jesus has been investing, he's been spending time, he's been talking to all of the non-religious people, all of the people that these religious people did not think he came for, and he's investing and spending more time and talking and eating with them, to the point that now they're grumbling about it. They've tried to set him up in different ways to where he could fail, and now he's just hanging out with them all the time. And Jesus knows that this is making them furious. He knows that they're grumbling, and he also knew that he at some point is going to have to confront their grumbling. He's going to have to confront them in a way. While they're doing this, classic Jesus goes ahead and he does respond to them, but as always, he responds with style, and he responds in classic Jesus way. He gives them three different parables, three different ones. Parables, I don't know if you guys know about parables, but parables often have hidden meanings, right? There's always some type of hidden thing that Jesus is trying to get across. And when I think about parables, at least for me, I think about a mystery, right? I think of some type of clue that he's trying to help people with. I love a good mystery. Do you guys like good mystery shows and movies? Does anybody in here like that? Where's my mystery people? Let me see. I just want to see if you like a good mystery. I have my favorite. And you know how I like to have fun. I've got three different slides. I'm going to ask you guys to name who the mystery or the detective person is on the screen, movie or show, and you tell me who it is without me saying it, all right? Are you guys ready? You got to yell it out, okay? We're going to see who knows their detectives. All right, first one up is... Who didn't know it was Columbo? Let me see. Anybody's hand in here? Maybe the younger ones? Okay, all right. Thanks for being honest. Yep. Thanks for being honest. Don't feel bad. All right, here we go. Next is Who didn't know that was Sherlock? Let me see hands. There we go. Ian, yeah, all right, you're doing good. Yep, Tom, okay, good, yep. There's often, just so it makes you feel better, Sherlock always has different characters. There's many, like 23 different characters of Sherlock, and he happened to be one of them. All right, next one. Who's that? Ace Ventura. He is also a detective. Good job. Who didn't know that was Ace Ventura in here? A young one. Okay, you get away. Yep, you get away. Glenda didn't know that. Okay, Lucy, yep, all right. All right, now who's a Columbo fan? Who's the number one is Columbo? All right, it's few and far between on that. How about Sherlock? Where's my Sherlock fans? Got a few more Sherlock fans. And then where's the Ace Ventura fans? Okay, we wrapped it up. It literally was separated in groups. We'll separate you guys into each section next week, but I'm a Columbo fan, in case you're wondering. My wife makes fun of me all the time because she'll come around the corner. You think I'm watching some serious thing and it's Columbo, but anyways. Has anybody ever taken one of those spiritual gift tests? Anybody ever taken one of those? You guys ever heard of a spiritual gift test, right? I know some churches, they put them in their classes and all that. Usually it's like prophet, evangelist, apostle, all these different types of things. I haven't taken a test. I never have. But I do believe I found out what my spiritual gift is. I believe I figured it out, okay? Before you guys go ahead and claim it on me, okay? I believe when you're watching a mystery movie or show, I can almost always figure out who the bad guy is in the show or movie. Almost always, to the point where Ruthie and I are watching a movie, and I'll look over at her, and I'm like, are you ready to know who the bad guy is? She'll answer yes or no, right? She'll answer yes or no, and whether she wants it to be a question or not. To me, if you're thinking about mysteries, right? Mysteries, I think the best mysteries are when it's hard to know who the bad guy is, who the questionable character is. It's like when you know at the beginning, you're just kind of like, do I really want to finish this movie? I can tell he has a weird smirk. You know, I don't know. I also think the best mysteries are when it's kind of a strange movie all the way through, and then it has a strange ending, okay? Typically, a lot of these, if it's a good mystery, they are strange all the way through, and they have a strange ending. But I will say at the end, you finally can put all the clues together and you see, okay, I thought that's who it was, and now I know. That is when I believe it is a really good mystery. So if you can picture these religious people, right, and they are mad at him right now. And so Jesus is going to respond with 3 different parables, 3 different stories, 3 different mystery type things. And they call these, at least someone has called them, the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. That's what those 3 parables are, okay? And all 3 parables, in my opinion, if you read them, I think they're all a little strange. I think they're a little bit off. They don't make a whole lot of sense. And then at the end, they're just kind of a strange ending, and that's it, right? But I will tell you, with any good parable, with any good mystery, there are clues along the way. But you have to look for those things to stand out. You have to look for the odd behavior as to what Jesus is trying to insinuate with these parables. So let's go to the first parable. It begins in verse 4. This is the parable of the lost sheep, all right? You ready? Luke 15:4. It says, what man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lost one of them, does not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and his neighbors, saying to them, rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost. And just so I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. Now, I've heard this story, I've told this story, I've heard it said, in such a way that it's a really cute story that the shepherd would leave the 99 and go for the one. I have often heard it in that way. But to me, it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit off. It's kind of strange. It's a strange type of parable because there's no mention that the shepherd made sure that the 99 were going to be okay. He didn't really make sure. He's not totally, at least there's no mention of it, and he might have even left the 99 kind of vulnerable in a sense. He might have even forgot about them. And what doesn't add up to me, because that's what we're looking for, what doesn't add up to me in this parable is that no shepherd forsakes the 99 for the one. No good shepherd, at least, right? In other words, the math is off. 99 for the one doesn't look good on a shepherd resume. Can we agree with that? And he doesn't even head back to the field after finding the lost one. He doesn't even head back to the field to go check on the 99 to make sure they're okay. In fact, he takes the one and he goes back to the house and he calls all his buddies and all his homies and all his fellow shepherds and says, let's have a party like it's 1999, right? And all the way to the end of this parable, Jesus explained that the party begins when one sinner changes his mind about God. And I will tell you that story to me is a strange story with a strange ending. The second parable is all about a lost coin. Okay, I don't know if you know this parable. I've heard it often. I actually really enjoy it. And it makes a little more sense to me now that I feel like I try to understand it in this way. But Luke 15:8, we're still in the ESV, it says, or what woman having 10 silver coins, if she loses one coin, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and seek diligently until she finds it? And when she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost. Just so, I tell you, there is joy before the angels of God over one sinner who repents. So my question to you today is, have you ever lost a coin? Has anybody ever lost a coin in here? Let me see your hand. All right? Whether you're at your house or you're out about. If you have a bunch of coins in your pocket and one of those coins falls out of your pocket, maybe sitting on the couch, okay? And it's just a coin. More than likely, you are not going to go looking through the whole house. You're gonna let that coin sit in that couch for about a year or two, right? Till it's time to clean the couch and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of change in here. But nobody does that. Nobody goes and sweeps the whole house and turns all the lights on and spends all this time looking for one coin, especially if you have 9 other coins in your pocket. Yet this woman loses her mind trying to find one coin. And then no one does this either. Nobody calls all their neighbors. I don't even really know my neighbors, okay? I wave at them, but I don't go calling all my neighbors to go tell them that I found the one coin. Do you know why I don't do that? Because that is crazy town. And then you're crazy enough to throw a party that costed way more than the one coin. They're going to think we're never going back to this house. This person is weird. I'm not even answering the phone. I'm not even going to wave because that's such odd behavior. But maybe, just maybe, Jesus is giving some hints. Maybe he's giving some clues. Maybe he's leaving some breadcrumbs for these Pharisees and telling the religious people that God cares a lot about what was lost. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he came to seek and to save that which was lost. Maybe he's leading us all to this final parable of the lost son. Luke chapter 15, verse 11. We're going to start in verse 11. It says, "There was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Give me the share of property that is coming to me.' And he divided his property between them. And not many days later, the younger son gathered all that he had and took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in the country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. And when he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything to eat, but when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger?' Verse 18, it says, 'I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.' And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his older brother was in the field, and as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing." Yes, Christians do have music and dancing. "And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound.' But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him, and he answered his father, 'Look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat, that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes and killed the fattened calf for him, you killed the fattened calf for him.' And he said to him, 'Son, you were always with me, and all that is mine is yours. And it is fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found.'" Now to us, and many, many years of preaching to young people, I have used that. I could paraphrase that all day long right there, that section of Scripture. And I would say it's one of the most beautiful passages in the Gospels. And I love all of that. I love the picture of restoration and all of those. But I will say, in reading this story, when we're thinking about how Jesus managed morality and he's responding to these Pharisees, there are some things that don't add up while you're reading this story, okay? So in summary, if we can picture this, in summary, there are 2 sons, would we all agree? And 1 dad. So it's not the story of the 1 son or the dad, it's the 2 sons and the 1 dad. So let's pretend that the younger son's name is Johnny. Are we okay with Johnny? Is anybody named Johnny that we're going to be offending right now? We're trying not to offend anybody named Johnny, okay? I think Johnny's a decent name for a younger brother, all right? So Johnny asked for his inheritance early, okay? And I don't know if you've ever heard of anybody doing that, but any responsible dad would automatically tell their irresponsible son no. Can we agree with that? Because they know in just a short amount of time that son is going to go blow that money in just a short amount of time. It reminds me of if I'm at the roller skating rink with my kids, or if I'm at a restaurant and there is one of those things that is a claw machine. Do you guys know what that is? And my kids come over and say, "Dad, can I have $1, $5, or $10 for this claw machine?" I know instantly that money I'm never going to see again, okay? I'm probably not going to see a stuffed animal either, because most of the time that whole thing is just a trap, okay? So for me, it's a real easy no. Automatically, I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Now my wife, then they go to my wife, and then that's how this whole process works, right? But this right here, this younger son, Johnny, has the nerve to go ask his dad for his inheritance early, and it should have been an automatic no. The dad gives it to him anyways, and Johnny spends it on wild living, and it gets so bad that he's now stuck on a farm and he's eating with pigs. And my question in all of this moment is, where was the dad at? Right? Where was the dad? It actually says that the dad was on the porch. Now, I'm sorry that this whole scenario is strange, because if I gave my son half of an inheritance, I would follow my son in a donkey till I find him in a ditch, because I know it's just a matter of time till he's going to blow all of that money. There are a lot of things in this story that don't add up. And of course, there is this beautiful picture of restoration. The dad sees him from afar off. The dad runs to him. He kisses him, right? He restores him. He gives him the robe, the ring, the shoes, kills the fattened calf, and he throws him a slamming party. Meanwhile, the brother, he's out in the field. He comes in. He gets mad. And often, how many of you guys ever heard that this older brother is the bad guy? How many of you guys ever heard that? I have heard that, and I've preached it. But I want you to know, almost always, the older brother gets the bad rap. So let's put it into modern day terms, and we have to picture ourselves as being the older sibling. Are you guys okay with that? So we got Johnny, and we're the older siblings, okay? So you did all the right things, okay? You went to school on time. You did all your chores. You never rebelled. Okay, you never even talked back. You got straight A's. You paid your way through college. Okay, you were the golden child. Do I have any golden childs in here, right? Children, that's me. While at college, dad gets sick. And you drop out of college because you want to save the family farm. So you drop out of college, you move back home, and you begin to work on the family farm. Meanwhile, there's Johnny. Johnny is a brat. He's always been a brat. He has been milking your dad since the day he was born. He takes advantage of everyone, right? He's typically in his room playing video games. He causes scenes every time you go into public. He gets all F's in school. He treated your parents like trash the whole time. And while you're holding it all together, you're doing your chores, his chores, you're even helping him with his homework. He never pulls his weight the whole time. And one day, he decides he's going to cash in early, and he's going to get what's his because it's his money and he wants it now, right? And he goes out and he blows that money just like you told your dad all those years that he was going to do. A few months later, you're out in the field, you're working, you're sweating, because that's what happens when you're out in the field, y'all. You are working, you're sweating, and you hear music being played up at the house. You're like, there's no way my dad's throwing a party without me. You head back in, you're hosing off your shoes, all the mud. Servant comes around, says, hey, I don't know if you heard, kind of whispers it, says, hey, Johnny's back, and your dad killed that calf that you named. You raised that calf. You know that's how it went. He's not like, good news, Johnny's home. He's like, no, Johnny's home. Heads up. So you go around the corner, you are ticked off. Johnny's in there breakdancing with dad. You can see him from the inside. You're not going in for anything. Your dad comes out, comes around the corner. You say, Dad, what is up? What are you doing? And he said, well, come into the party. Come into the party. Are you kidding me? Where's the money? Did he take the money? Let me guess. He spent the money just like I told you he was going to. Why does Johnny deserve a party? That's what you ask. And with tears in your eyes, and you're so hurt by this, you say, why haven't you thrown me a party? You killed the cow I named, and I can't even get a goat. You know it's country when he's talking about goats and cows and all these things, right? That's a country argument. The dad says in response, son, we're always together, and Johnny was dead and is alive. He was lost and now is found, and all that I have is yours. And your instant response is, not all, Dad, because you just took half of it and you gave it to him and he spent it all. And so now you're angry, you're hurt, you're bitter, and you say everything is not fair. If this was a movie and you're sitting next to your spouse, you would say, and they would say, strange story, strange characters, and strange ending. Because you're wondering, did the brothers ever reconcile? Did they fix it? Did the dad bring the son in? Did the older son take all his stuff and leave? What happened? There's no closure. I'm upset about this. You got to tell me what happened. In fact, my wife would pull the remote from me and say, you're never picking the movie again. This was a horrible movie. But maybe Jesus did this intentionally. Maybe this strange feeling that the Pharisees were having in this moment while he's telling this story is exactly what he wanted them to feel. Maybe there were clues of who the crazy guy was the whole time. Have you been wondering who the crazy guy was the whole time? Anybody been putting it together? The crazy guy wasn't the older brother. The crazy guy wasn't even Johnny. The crazy guy was the dad the whole time. And not crazy in the sense of him being crazy, but crazy in what he was acting out. His actions didn't add up, and he not only didn't play favorites, he rewarded the reprobate son, which to me is crazy. The dad told the older son, the good son, the well-behaved son, the son who was loyal and faithful and decent and did all the right things, the son who made it his lifelong goal to keep all the rules. The dad told the older son, it's nice that you did all of those things and you behaved so well, but I have news for you, none of it really mattered. Right? Everyone hearing this parable, as Jesus was explaining it, would have obviously sided with the older brother. Right? Siding with the older brother was the logical thing to do. He did all the right things. He truthfully deserved a party all the time because he did everything that was expected of him. The dad made crazy choices, and I think we can all at least agree on that. And Jesus also, he made crazy choices too. He hung out with everyone. He seemed to care more about the immoral people than he did the moral. Jesus celebrated questionable people. There was no hate the sin, love the sinner. Jesus was drawn like a magnet to the worst of the worst people. And he on purpose chose to be with them the majority of the time. In fact, he surrounded himself with a bunch of broken teenagers, is who the disciples were. And he invested all of his time with reprobates, with prostitutes, with the rejected, with the notorious B.I.G. sinners. He confuses the wise by being with the people who had the worst actions and said out loud in front of everyone, I came for you. That's why I came. That's why he told the religious these three parables. These stories aren't about lost sheep, they're not about lost coins, and they're not about the lost son. They're about a crazy shepherd, they're about a crazy woman, and they're about a crazy dad. A crazy dad because he wasn't concerned about managing his son's morality. I mean, an average dad would say, you got to get yourself together, you got to fix this, you got to do this right. There's no way I'm giving you any money until you do X, Y, and Z. But instead, he gave him half and loved him before and after. He probably kissed him on the way out, kissed him on the way in. That's why Jesus used this story, because Jesus never came to manage anyone's morality. I came to reveal the heart of the Father, and the heart of the Father was to make the paths straight for the unrighteous and to make the paths crooked for the self-righteous. He came to set the world right again. He came to make us right with him. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the whole world might be saved. In closing, John 15:31, it was a part of this story. It says, and he said to him, which is the older brother, Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. Truth is, when you think about this story of the two sons, he loved both sons the same, but one didn't see it. Both were invited to the party, but one of them didn't want to be a part of the party. They wanted fairness, they wanted rightness, they wanted everything to be equal. And what I want to tell anybody in here, if you're watching online, if you're in here today, I want to tell myself that he loves you even when you can't see, feel, or you know it. He loves you right where you're at. And sometimes my kids go through phases. I don't know if your kids go through phases, but my kids go through phases where if I tell them no, if things aren't working in their way, if they're just having a bad day, they'll say real dramatically, you don't even love me. And with that, I pull them in close, and I almost always say the same thing. I always say, if you have any clue how much I love you, you would never say that. And I feel like that's what the Father is saying here to the oldest, who thinks things aren't going his way. And what I hope you find encouraging today is even if you still believe that God keeps track of how good you are, which he's not, or even if you blew it yesterday and you failed for the millionth time in a row and you feel so much shame, you don't ever feel like you could deserve anything from God. If you feel like that, I want you to forget everything that I've said so far. And I believe God would pull you in and say, oh, if you only knew how much I love you. I've always been with you, and all that I have is yours. And I'm with you always, even to the end of the world.